Welcome to your deep dive. Ready to explore.
Always. What are we diving into today?
Today, we're tackling a question that has fascinated theologians for centuries: the mystery of Jesus' true nature.
Ah, a big one.
It is, but we're going to unpack it by looking at two very different passages from the Gospel of John.
Okay, I like where this is going. What passages are we talking about?
John chapter 17, verses 1 through 5, and John 1, verses 1 to 5.
Okay.
They're like two sides of the same incredibly valuable coin, revealing a beautiful complexity in who Jesus is.
Intrigued. Let's dive in.
Let's start with John 17. This passage is a prayer, Jesus' high priestly prayer, in fact, right before his crucifixion.
Talk about a loaded moment.
Absolutely. And the prayer itself is incredibly powerful. It's not just Jesus asking God for strength to endure what's to come. It's a profound statement about his relationship with God.
I see.
He asks God to glorify him.
Right.
So that he, Jesus, can then give that glory right back to God.
Give back.
Exactly. It's like he's saying, I'm about to show the world who you are, Father, and in doing so, I'm going to reveal my true nature too.
A powerful expression of love and unity. It almost suggests that Jesus isn't asking for something he doesn't already possess.
You're picking up what I'm putting down.
Yeah, it's like he already possesses this glory and is praying for it to be revealed, made known, so that he can glorify God.
Precisely. And this points towards a deep inherent connection between Jesus and God, a shared nature that goes beyond a simple father-son dynamic.
Right. They are distinct, father and son, and yet there's this unity that I think this verse really gets at. And I think that's something that as Christians we wrestle with, like how could God be three in one at the same time?
And he's talking about eternal life.
Right.
And eternal life being connected to knowing God, but not just knowing God, but knowing Jesus Christ.
Right.
And it's like almost like, hey, it's just as important to know me as it is to know God.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
And I think it's really interesting, the language there, because it doesn't say knowing about God or knowing about Jesus.
Right.
It's knowing God, knowing Jesus, which I think implies relationship.
Yeah. And then right after that, we have, it says that, Jesus had glory with God before the world began. I mean, talk about a mind bender.
And this is where you get to the idea of the pre-existence of Christ, that Jesus wasn't just like, born as a human.
Right.
He existed before that. And this, I think, speaks to the eternal nature of Jesus and this relationship he had with God the Father that exists outside of, time as we know it.
Right.
Like we're so bound by time, but to think that there's something beyond that, that's pretty amazing.
So now we're going to shift gears, but we're also kind of not shifting gears because this is also mind-blowing.
Okay.
John 1, it's like poetry. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God.
This beautiful lighting.
It's of Genesis.
Yeah.
But it's also not Genesis.
Right.
So
Yeah.
how can the Word be with God and be God at the same time? It makes you stop and think.
Absolutely. It's incredibly thought-provoking. And to fully grasp its significance, we need to delve into this term, word, or logos in the original Greek.
Right. Break it down for us.
In Greek philosophy, logos represented this ultimate principle of reason and order in the universe.
Okay.
But it goes even deeper than that. In Jewish theological tradition, which John was very familiar with, the concept of the logos was associated with God's creative power and divine wisdom, the very essence of communication.
So logos is not just a word as we understand it.
Exactly. It's more like this dynamic force through which God interacts with the world, reveals his will, even brings things into being.
Fascinating.
It is. And here's the mind-blowing part. John is saying that Jesus is this logos. He's the embodiment of God's will and the instrument through which everything came into being.
Wow. So we have these two seemingly different pictures of Jesus. In John 17, we have Jesus, the man, praying to God in a moment of deep vulnerability.
Right.
And in John 1, we see Jesus as this eternal word, this force that transcends time and space. It's a lot to take in.
It is. And it gets right to the heart of the mystery of Jesus' dual nature. He is both fully human, capable of experiencing the depths of human emotion, and fully divine, eternally connected to God as the Word. It's pretty incredible to think that these passages have been discussed and debated for centuries.
Yeah.
Because there's just so much in there.
There's so much to unpack.
There's so much to unpack. And that's what's exciting about, I think, doing this deep dive, is that we can at least start to unpack these things, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what makes it even more fascinating is how much these verses challenge us.
This is giving me so much to think about. If Jesus, this man who walked the earth, is also the eternal word through whom God created everything, where do you see echoes of that word in your own life?
I like that.
Great deep dive today.
Yeah, this is good.
Lots to think about.